is up, Unity community? Welcome on in. My name is Jackson. I'm one of your community managers. Thank you so very much for being here for another official Unity live stream, both on twitch.tv/Unity and, of course, the Unity YouTube page. It is so great to have you all. We have a fantastic show for you planned. We're bringing in a couple of guests, one returning, one brand new, and we're going to be talking through tanks. We, of course, remastered tanks. I use we very liberally because I had nothing to do with it. But the Learn team, of course, creating these wonderful tutorials and the Learning Essentials pathway went through Revamped tanks. We're going to go through it. We're going to work through a few of the different chapters of it. My understanding is this is a staple for many people who want to learn Unity. We've already seen Tomich probably on the YouTube side that said, I love the original tanks, hoping this one's even better. So thank you very, very much for being here. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to be talking through what's new. Of course, with tanks and this revamp and this stream, there will also be a showcase for you all to be able to submit your work with a chance to win some swag. And we'll give you all of those details and more as well. As we kind of get started with the stream here, I would love to hear where in the world you are tuning in from. It is always one of the most incredible things as a community manager to see where just how far this community spreads around the world. I also wanted to shout out, who was it here? Cyber752 on the YouTube side said, love the vibes. Have a great day. Thank you for the good energy. But also, conveniently, right before we went live, we were talking about how we love the new intro music, and I'm glad that it hit for everybody. You know what I mean? Of course, welcome back to our staples. We got the Bull. We've got Mr. Awesome on the YouTube side. And C-Stron, the namer of names, Bagardi Tech as well over on Twitch. We've got friends in Norway, Argentina, but from Spain. Very cool. Again, welcome on in, everybody. We are here, and you guys will have heard this before, every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon on the East Coast, or 5 p.m. GMT. And that's been every Thursday this year from the time that we got started. But we've got more for you. And it's something I want to talk to you all about in just a moment here after I let you know that we also have people here from Brazil, Bagardi Tech. Obrigado. Thank you for being here. We have teams in India, Italy. Everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. And also, you should all know that our producer is making fun of the way that I pronounced Argentina. So it's fine. Welcome on in, everyone. As I mentioned, we've been live every Thursday since early January. And we've been talking to you a little bit about what type of content we've been making, what type of content we want to be making. And I'm here to tell you that we're bulking up this schedule. We're giving you more opportunities to come and hang out, learn something, connect with the Unity community, and just have a blast. So this is what I wanted to show you all. In the next few months, May, June, and July. It's May 1st. In May, June, and July, we will be doing 2 streams each week. That is the intention. That is the plan. We have scheduled quite a few. There will take all of this with a small grain of salt because scheduling is a nightmare. It is the hardest thing that I do as a producer of these live streams, is getting people where they need to be for the streams. All of this, please take away from this that we are doing more, and we're going to do some fun stuff, and I'm very excited, and you guys have a lot of opportunities to come and hang out. So we are branding Tuesdays Indie Tuesdays. Jumping ahead, we will also have Technical Thursdays. Sorry, I forgot my own terms. Technical Thursdays. So Indie Tuesdays is going to be a little bit of your engine agnostic information and knowledge and content, whereas Thursday is going to be highly technical Unity stuff. Not highly, but it'll be technical Unity thing. So on Tuesdays, you can expect things like speaker series. Earlier in the year, we did how to market a game and how to fund your game. We're bringing in industry experts to come and talk about these other non-engine specific sides of being an indie game dev. We also have great game design. If you were around last Halloween, you might remember this. We brought in 2 horror game devs that are doing it very well to play horror games and talk about what makes those games thrive from a game design perspective. So if you're looking for your game design knowledge, you'll get that as well. We'll also do some Let's Plays, some showcases, maybe some community showcases, but again, much more casual, just opinions about games, hanging out with the community. Also, more Exciting. More things is very cool. We do have a couple of other ideas in the hopper that we're not ready to share yet. And again, this is the framework that we're going to be operating on. We might have to wiggle room around it, but that's what Indie Tuesdays looks like. Looking at Technical Thursdays, you're going to get that technical content from various teams. We had pro training in to talk about how to VFX graph, how to build a ragdoll. Actually, these were all Sarah from the pro training team, and how to build a beautiful skill tree using UI toolkit. So similar content to that. These have been very popular. People like to learn. We understand that about you guys. You guys are always eager to learn something new when it comes to the live streams. Going a little bit further, we're going to be converting our creator spotlights into like a guest lecturer kind of thing. It's going to be similar where we're bringing in guests, but they're going to be showing you, we're going to be focused more on the technical side. They're going to be showing you pieces of their game, including later this month, we're going to have the team from Phasmophobia coming in, and we're going to be having a team called Pickpock, who has created a game called Into the Dead, talking about zombies. And golly gee, I'm very excited about zombie things. So that'll be exciting. We're also going to be continuing Clocked and Loaded. Seastron, again, named it, crushed it, got it in one. This was a series that we did one of so far, and it was basically challenging someone to do something in 10 minutes, 1 hour, and 1 day, and how those approaches would change, coming in and telling you why those are different and why they picked made those decisions. What's up, Glossy Maid from NYC? Welcome on in. Last but of course not least, the final Friday of each month, we want to do a versus mode. The game show that we did last week, we did one in GDC as well, pitting someone from the Unity team. Trey on screen right now is he didn't get fired for losing, is our one of our community managers, and we brought in Code Monkey as a competitor. We're going to be doing that the final Friday of each month. So all of that to say, in May, June, and July, there will be lots of opportunities for you to come and hang out. It's going to be great. Also, Robin in the YouTube chat says, bro, life is short. Can you get to the important thing? Super rude, very unnecessary. This is a live stream. We go at our own pace here. We're going to be here for 90 minutes. So there's going to be lots of important things. And the schedule for the next 3 months seems like an important thing for you to know when to come back and get to other important things. You know what I mean? Anyhow, we're just going to go ahead. Give me 1 second. We're going to put that person in timeout. I have the power. And with all of that being said, let's get to the important thing here. Let's welcome our new guests. Of course, one returning, a familiar face, and a first timer. So please be kind and give the lovely Unity warm welcome that I know that you can. Please welcome back to the show, Aaron. And then the first timer, Neal. Welcome on in, you two. How do you feel about being the important stuff?
I've always considered myself the important stuff.
I knew
so
you did.
I'd rather just
to me.
Yeah.
I knew you.
I'm ambivalent. I'd rather kind of just be in the shadows.
You are kind of in the shadows right now, actually.
I would prefer to not be the important stuff. Aaron, you've joined us once before. Neal, welcome for your first time. One of the most excellent things that we get to do on these streams is kind of bridge the gap between the community and the internal Unity teams. So getting to know you all is always an important part of it. So we'll go with Aaron first, and then we'll jump down to Neal. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been at Unity? What's your job here? And then to paint a picture here, what's one of your favorite games of all time?
Shall I, Neal?
Please.
Okay. Yeah, well, I've been at Unity for almost 7 years now, and it's easy to remember because it's my son was born, my first son, right when I started. He's almost 7. Charlie. Shout out to Charlie if you're watching.
Shout out to Charlie.
Anyway, I'm a senior instructional designer, so I make learning content for usually beginner content, a lot of the pathways that ends up on learn.unity.com, but I do a whole bunch of other stuff, as we all do. And favorite game, it's very timely. It's going to be The Last of Us, which season 2 is, of course, coming out as we go. Very excited every Sunday night. Super pumped about that. So
I just watched the first episode of the second season last night. I just finished the game like 2 weeks ago. The Last of Us was one of my, I've already had almost this exact same conversation like 4 times in the last 2 days because I just get so excited about it. So The Last of Us was one of my favorite games of all time. I played The Last of Us 2 the day that it came out, got really sad, didn't touch it again until 2 months ago. And then finally got through it in time. Really excited about it. Are you enjoying the HBO series so far?
I am. I'm loving it.
Good. So I mentioned it earlier, but we have a team coming on mid-May from Pickpock, and they've created a zombie game called Into the Dead. We are confirming details, so again, take this with a grain of salt. But what I went into that meeting being like, if I had to pitch an idea, I would love for them to tell me how they made their zombies. Show me their zombie AI, their design intentions, how they executed it. That would be cool, but that's very selfish of me. I'm going to let them kind of influence what we're going to make. The first thing they said was, what if we talked about the zombie AI? And I said, let me stop you right there. We nailed it. We got it in one. So that's my level of excitement. Aaron, are you a generalist zombie lover or The Last of Us specifically?
No, not specifically. The Last of Us, I feel like just absolutely nailed it. So I wouldn't have considered myself a zombie lover before that. And now here I am. Look at me talking about zombies on the internet.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Speaking of talking about zombies on the internet, smooth transition here. Neal, you're not a zombie. That wasn't what I was saying. That's not what I was implying, Neal. Neal, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you been at Unity? What do you do here? And is your favorite game also The Last of Us?
Hey. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Neal. I've worked at Unity for about 8 years now, and I am a senior product manager. I work mostly on the Learn platform, making decisions and, working on designs around how that platform should work. Fun fact related to zombies, I taught a class on how to make zombie movies. It was a one-day class, and this was many years ago. Yeah, fun times.
I love that, Neal, and we'll save that one for maybe off stream because I'll have about 30 million questions for you.
So I think from teaching that one class, I should change my title to zombie expert.
You could. That's a possibility.
That said, I love The Last of Us. Great game. But the one that I wanted to give a call out to is GTA 3 Vice City.
Whoa, okay.
Just love a good sandbox, and then also, setting it in the 80s so that all the radio stations are 80s radio stations, and you can just drive around and be in the 80s. That's my jam.
That
was a good decade for you.
So we've brought both of you in here because Tanks got revamped. You both kind of had some hand in that process, so you have some insight into what we changed and why. Also, shout out to our producer for switching Neal's title to Zombie Expert during that explanation. That gave me a lovely chuckle. But we're going to get into kind of what's new about it. We're going to talk about the showcase because, Neal, you've been working really hard to kind of set this up for everybody. We've done a couple of showcases in the past. This is the first one, I think, that has physical swag as the prize, which is always exciting. We'll talk about that. And then Aaron, as the most developer of all of us, I'll just leave it at that. You're going to go through some of this actual tutorial. We're going to go through it together. We're just going to hang out. We're going to keep it relatively chill. If anyone wants to develop and do their own tutorial alongside of us, you are more than welcome to, as it will help you with the showcase in the long run. But let's back up a step here. What is new in Tanks? What did we change? Why is that something we elected to do here?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Dive.
Well, 2015 was a big year. That's when the original Tanks was released, and it was taught at a Unite session. I think it was over the course of 2 days by Will Goldstone and James Boukley. And you can still find all those videos on YouTube. And it is, since 2015, a beloved tutorial that has taught, I don't know, millions, tens of thousands, some huge number of developers. Was probably their first tutorial. So it holds a very special place in a lot of people's hearts. But we were going to update it for Unity 6 just to make it all compatible. And there was an opportunity to, when we were updating it, add some really cool features that would just be gravy extra bonus on top of the original core that was so beloved. So we just added things that really just make it more fun to learn and more fun to play. We think you can be the judge of that. And yeah, so I could get into some of the specifics, but maybe actually it would make more sense to talk about those specifics after you see the game demoed.
Sure. Or maybe we can pair those things up. So we've got Fanta on the YouTube chat asking exactly what we're talking about right now. What has changed in the tanks tutorial? We'll get to that in just a moment. So we can put a pin in that, which is great. We can talk about the showcase now, because again, we've done showcases like this in the past. At the beginning of the year, we played the winners of the showcase for the Rollerball, which was really fun. There was a whole learn along, as there will be with this. There's discussion spaces for you guys to go and connect with the team that are helping put this together, ask your questions, promote your own submissions, do those types of things. But Neal, can you tell us a little bit more about the showcase?
Yeah, sure can. So yeah, showcase is essentially a contest, if you will. And yeah, so wait, that's not the right one. You can make your own version of tanks. You can submit it. You have until May 22nd to submit. We will be, as a team, playing all the submissions, enjoying them, selecting some winners. So check out the Play Showcase page for all the rules and prizes that we're going to give. Actually, there's one prize. There's 5 prizes for all the 5 winners. And it is a beautiful...
Oh, you have it with you?
I have it.
Okay.
It's a beautiful Unity backpack.
Ooh,
yeah, and it will be, hand personally delivered, not delivered to you, but shipped to you by me.
Hand delivered by Neal. You heard it here first. He's making trips around the world, dropping off backpacks.
So yeah, so check out that page for all. There are specific rules you should note. Some countries that can't participate in this kind of thing, whatever. It's all in the detailed rules there. But we're going to be looking for winners in 5 categories: best overall, most fun, best graphics, best sound, and weirdest. The best category of all,
of course.
And yeah, it'll be a good time. And I think what I have to advise everybody, as Aaron's going to show off here with the tanks game, the tanks tutorials, it's all about customization with tanks. So there's like customizations you can do, different environments you pick. But for the contest, for the showcase, I would advise, if you really want to catch the eye of the judges, kind of go beyond those like built-in customizations, like push yourself, do something wacky with the game, change up the mechanics. I think that's what we're going to be looking for.
Yeah. For additional context, there's these 5 categories that you can win. Each of them wins you a backpack, which is cool. I will also say I don't have any Unity swag, and I've worked here since July, and maybe I'm a little bit bitter about that. And it's like, you might think, why don't you just submit to tanks? And to that I say, don't want to, but go and try and get these. It's also always interesting, and I'll take a brief moment, because we saw it a lot with the last showcase that we opened up. Everyone was like, the prizes then were asset store credits, and people were like, why not just cash? And I saw this a bunch of times, which shocked me. But then I kind of realized that not as many people are familiar with setting up online competitions or raffles or wins or these types of things. There's a lot of countries that won't let you win cash prizes. So with the international reach of the community, and being that anyone can submit to these things, there's a reason that we have these kinds of limitations, which is cool. But the fact that we're offering physical swag is very cool. I also get this one a lot. Anytime I wear a Unity shirt, people say, I guess I just said I don't have Unity swag.
I think
I have one shirt that I can't remember where I got it now that I think about it. Anytime I wear it, someone's like, is there a Unity shop for swag? And the answer is no. So this bag is incredibly exclusive. So get in there, submit. The other side of this is, we've talked about it internally. If there's a great variety in submissions, and you in the Unity community dive in and create some really, really cool takes on tank takes, if you will, we'll come back and we'll play the winners on another showcase on stream. If you guys are lazy and don't do it, then we won't. Throwing shade. I don't know why I'm throwing shade at literally everybody today. But yeah, go and check out this showcase. I'm putting the links into the chat here. Realistically, Neal, could they take the tanks tutorial that they did that's saved in their hard drive from 10 years ago and submit that?
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I would advise them, to give it another shot and make sure it, compiles and you can upload it to Unity Play. So that's the other thing, that is a requirement there. It's got to be the web game version of your tanks game. And I know the tutorial sort of shows you how to do like a mobile web. So this will be the way you submit is through Unity Play. You have to have it up there as a play submission. So
cool.
As long as you can get it onto Play and it has tanks in it, and those tanks have, are battling. That's the bar.
We had, so the Rollerball was the last showcase that we did, and we had some like big swings in differences in submissions. Like we had completely different camera angles. We had completely different like win states and objectives. It was really, really cool to sift through. So we know that you guys are capable of some really creative things out there. Please go and check it out. That you stand to lose nothing by submitting. Make sure that you're on theme, and the fact that this one is tanks. If you have tanks, you're good. We had an adventure showcase where people were just submitting everything, or a winter showcase where they were submitting everything. Tanks. If it has a tank and it closely somewhat resembles the tutorial, submit it. We'll take a look at it. You've assembled a team of Unity folks that are going to go through and play these to decide. So go and check them all out.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Getting in and playing all of the submissions. I did that with the first time I did it was with the student submissions, and ended up playing the Wear Cleaner. Fast forward 6 months, they win an IGF award. Did I discover them? Maybe you could say that. We brought them on a stream last month. They were so awesome. They are so awesome. So I think that we should start at the end. If anyone has never seen tanks, let's set up so that we can show them what that looks like. And Aaron, I think that'll be a good opportunity for you to kind of talk through some of the differences, basically what we changed. I know Fanta asked for it. I think everyone's curious about it, as something that I've been told repeatedly is like, it's prolific. Everybody who has learned Unity knows tanks. And I've seen that. Initially, people were like, I was like, you're overselling it. You're overselling it. But it's like the number of people that have popped in and been like, no, I know this. It's actually great to see. So we've got tanks here. Neal, you are currently playing, while Aaron, you can share what's different about this. Is this a stock submission? Is this, if you followed the tutorial to a T, this is what you would get? Okay.
Yes, it is. And okay. I'll point out two things that if you're a tanks enthusiast, you will immediately recognize. First of all, you're in this grassy area, which is different from the sandy area. So we've got different levels for you to choose from. Also, huge change is this player select screen, where you can see a whole bunch of other changes. Namely, you've got different tanks to choose from, and each tank can have different stats. All of those are differences from the original. And another thing you'll notice, Neal here has selected, you can do player 1 and player 2, just like the original local multiplayer, but there's also a computer option and an off option. So you can play 1-on-1, 1-on-2, 1-on-3, or 2-on-2. Not actually team-based, but humans versus AI.
Cool.
So just the number of game configurations. So Neal, who are you going to choose here?
I went with the classic green, kind of like in the middle tank.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see how you do against the big boy over there.
This is sort of like the Mario tank, I'm gonna say, like that well balanced.
Yep.
I turned this guy off because I'm gonna get slaughtered otherwise. So.
Yeah. Well, it's not 2-on-1. So, and all this gameplay is almost identical to the original, so no big change there. But you'll see the beautiful new grassy landscape here, which was designed by one of our artists, Lucy Bourne. Shout out to Lucy. Neal, you're doing okay. It looks like the big tank could use some. Oh, now Okay, now we're just watching two.
Yeah, now we're just watching.
We're watching two AIs right now.
I just sit back and.
I do want to point out that this music is a bop, but it is also loud, so we might kill it. But new idea, Aaron and/or Neal. Can I get this track from you so we can use it for our intro, outro videos and just bounce around to get the stream started?
Definitely.
Okay, good. Carry on.
Yeah, you'll also notice that there's power-ups, Neal. Maybe that would help your chances a little bit.
Yeah.
Or did you already die?
No, I'm back.
Classic green.
Yeah.
Oh, you went with the green. Okay, sorry. Yes. Yeah, so there's different power-ups, which is also, we've added sort of additional features.
I want this to be more of a bumper tanks.
Yeah. Well, hey, Neal, that would be an amazing
throwing
submission.
out ideas. Yeah.
You can put that in as a submission. That would be solid.
Yep.
So everybody, no one steal Neal's idea. No one steal Neal's idea.
No, please steal it.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of big changes. But another one I'll point out here is that the original tanks, I'm not sure if we actually gave people instructions on how to build, but this is built on web. But it's also mobile web compatible. So if you open this up with your phone, a joystick and a button will show up, and you can then control your tanks with joystick and an action button, which is huge. So you just send it to your mom and your grandma, and they can just open it up on their gigantic phones and go to town.
Man, I truly suck at this.
You keep doing that while I read a list of tank-related puns that have come through in the chat. The Bull says you guys need to tank this down a notch. Yeah. Dustin says I'm just thankful for being here. Davina adds pun believable. I will say topical puns are fantastic. I will say that my brain somehow loves and hates puns at the same time. So have at it. Go for it. And everyone is cheering you on, Neal, just so you know.
I'm curious, in the chat, are we getting any love or hatred for changing the original? You know, I feel like there could be some purists out there who say, no, it was perfect the way it was. You guys have completely destroyed my my tank's childhood memories.
That's a good question. If anyone is excited about the changes, let us know. Or if you think that we destroyed everything, don't let us know, because I can't handle that emotionally right now.
Yeah. You're going to throw some more shade for sure. Yeah. So got to be careful out there in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I also want this hippo to come to life. Obviously.
Will it?
I want a hungry hippos like tanks mashup. That's the other idea there.
Now, no one's actually ever seen those hippos' feet under the mud, so we don't know if they exist. So someone will have to.
That's something that we're going to reveal today.
And they have to add some hippo feet
Neal.
Models to
get this W. Just a
Neal,
sliver of health. You really turned it around.
I turned it around.
You really turned it around.
Oh, how many rounds are there?
I think 5 right now to win the full thing. But you're just picking on a little guy. It's kind of you chose to go up against the smallest, weakest tank. But
hey, definitely balanced. He has the speed on me.
He does.
It's mostly standing still, but he does indeed have speed on you.
The AI does have a kind of stand and shoot mode and also a flee mode. If
oh really?
If it's getting shot at, or if you're staying still, or if it's staying still shooting in the same position, it will, after a few seconds, decide that it's probably wise to move to a new location.
I think if I just
one final touch,
shoot him and then back up. Yeah, I'm not executing well, but
this will be the stream for the next hours. Neal trying to win tanks. Neal wins! Oh,
I did win. I thought I lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
We saw no one hop out and tell me that they hated that we changed it. We saw Tom Itch is saying as long as Desert is still available, that they love it, right? The classic, got to have that classic.
Desert is available.
We've seen other people say Onwards and Upwards. I like it. It's cool with a K, and that's how you know it's extra cool. So I'm glad that people are coming around to seeing this through a positive lens, which is exciting. And can we just take a second, because I glossed over it. Let's give Neal a round of applause for conquering that little baby blue tank. You worked hard for it, and I respect
bullied that tank.
You sure did. You got him. You got him all the way. Congratulations. Now, something that I'm excited for, something that I would like to see more of when we are doing these types of live streams. We're just going to work through the tutorial. We're going to pop it open. Aaron has agreed to get through as much of this as possible. We have a couple chapters that we're very confident we'll get through, and then a couple that we're like, hey, if we still have time, we'll dive into those. So I'm going to put it in the chat right now, but the entire learning essentials pathway guides you through the entire process very, very well. And it's gamified. You can log in with your Unity account. You can earn experience for finishing tutorials. You can get badges and accolades. You can tell everybody about those. And honestly, if you come back here and you tell me, hey, I just got a badge for finishing tanks, I'm going to be excited. I genuinely will tell you how excited I am when you do that. So, Aaron, is there anything else that you want to preface with before we dive into watching you work?
Well, thank you for that opportunity, but I think I'm ready.
Yeah, the essentials pathway also has time estimates. It says how long it expects for you to finish kind of each thing. We're going to be using the different chapters as our kind of scene headings here, our footers, those types of things. And yeah, you guys can follow along. Like I said, we'll try and get through as much as we can. Grash Ariza in the Twitch chat says, is there curriculum for teachers to use the new tanks project? That's a great question. Neal or Aaron, do you guys have insights, or should we find a way to connect Grash with Kirk? What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, there's not teacher-specific curriculum for tanks right now, but of course, just having the students work through it and then submit their project is one way to go. Unfortunately, yeah, nothing teacher-specific right now.
What I'll say is we also have a discussions thread dedicated to this learn along. If you go in there and you express your interest, let people know that this is something that you would like, that you think would be valuable. It's something, all of that feedback helps inform the team's decision-making process. So encourage you to go and check that out. But thank you. That's a really insightful question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and on the Learn platform, we've got some stuff in the works for teachers for later this year. So stay tuned.
Perfect.
Very vague about it.
No, it's good. Sometimes we have to be, you know what I mean? But we will now swiftly hand over the reins to you, Aaron. Use them safely.
Excellent. Yes.
Walk us through
I don't believe I've ever demonstrated anything live on the internet before.
First time, exciting.
Yeah, chat, please be kind and leave the heckling to a minimum if possible.
So I will say before you do that we have done this in the past. Especially when I started, we had like a 5 or 6 part series that was just converting a game to multiplayer, and it was technical. Anytime we stumbled on that stream or any stream since, the chat is incredibly helpful at trying to propose solutions, at trying to work through it together. So it's one of my favorite things. And I told people, and I continue to tell people, that the Unity community is incredibly supportive. So that's what I anticipate. That would be what I would hope from you all in the Unity community. But also, Aaron, I know you're going to crush this, so you won't need our help.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, here I am in a completely blank Unity project. In fact, it was, created just with the universal 3D template in any version of Unity 6. And I am going to walk you through the first 3 tutorials of the tanks course. And that just shows you, I've got less than an hour. You can blaze through this course pretty quickly. There's a total of about 9 tutorials. So in a few hours, you could probably finish this and then start working on your customizations. So the first tutorial is setting up the scene with your level and your tank in there. Nothing working yet, but everything's all set up with your camera ready to go. So when you create a new project, it automatically generates a sample scene, but I don't even want to use that because I want to start completely from scratch to show you that we are starting from an empty Unity scene. So down here in my project window, and I'm using the 2x3 layout with just a minor customization here with the project window down here. So I got my scene view, my game view, all my windows that I need ready to go if you are hoping to follow along. And I'm going to make a completely new scene. So I'm not going to use this sample scene. I'm going to create a new scene, just a regular old scene, and I'm going to name it game. And I'm going to double click on it. And you can see it's just got a main camera and a directional light. The classic game objects for any new scene that you might want to make. And the first thing you would actually do in this course is import the tank's assets from the asset store. And you can see here the beautiful tanks asset page on the asset store. Look at all the love that it's gotten. Wow. Over 10,000. So that just shows you, yeah, there's the beautiful level selection. You've got all the array of tanks. Pretty sweet. For the sake of time, I've already imported this asset into this project, but you would just need to open it in Unity, and it'll add this tanks folder for you with a helpful underscore to keep it right at the top of your assets.
Cool.
Yeah. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a level prefab. So we've provided you with pre-built levels, but if you want, especially if you're trying to customize stuff, we've also provided you with some empty levels if you want to start completely from scratch. But I just want to show you, here's the classic. Someone was asking for it. The people have gotten what they want. The desert level is right there.
All right.
Yeah, we got the jungle. Yeah, and we got the moon. And I don't know. I'm gonna let the either the panelists or the chat choose.
Oh, do we get to
want to
pick?
go desert, jungle, or moon?
I have an important question about the desert. Are there sandworms?
Not yet. Not until you program them, Neal.
Exactly. I mean,
I will say the first response was from the Aya on Twitch, and it's just moon in all caps. So they seem very excited by the concept. I'm kind of into that.
I'm dragging it in right now. There's the moon. And you see it's got all kinds of beautiful moon-like structures, including this crashed rocket ship, which actually does emit some smoke. Pretty cool. We got some lunar buildings, all kinds of cool stuff. And just throwing it out there, ideas for people. You can mix and match the assets. You know, you can have, who says a rocket ship can't crash in the desert? Not me.
Who's to say there's not a hippo on the moon? Moon hippos.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes. So we've added our level prefab, and I'm just like a good Unity developer. I'm going to just make sure that it's at 0, 0, 0.
I'm
and
sorry
it is.
to interrupt you, Aaron, but I needed
Please.
to, because Quintus Smith on the YouTube side just said we got a bunch of lunar ticks here. And I know we're doing important work and you're working hard and you're doing a great job, Aaron, but I just needed to point that out. That was
Sorry, lunar ticks, did you say?
Like a lunatic, but like on the moon, like a lunatic.
Very good. I got you.
Isn't the
Well, Quintus is actually
already lunar for that word? Like, it's a little bit redundant on that.
Nope.
Joke.
Yeah.
I'm giving it my personal grade. That's an A. That's an A pun. There's A plus still. There's always a little room for improvement, but my personal grade is A. If you guys want to, if you have different grades, that's
for that.
Yep.
So this level is missing a tank. So I'm going to, because the tank is going to have a lot of different components. It's going to have the actual tank model. It's going to have some UI attached to it. It's going to have dust trails behind it. So when you have a bunch of objects that all combine to make a single object, it's really nice to start by creating an empty object, which is just a nothing object, which I'm going to center at 0, 0, 0. You can see here it is. It looks like nothing. And it's basically just a folder for all my other objects. And I'm going to name this tank. And there it is. And all I need to do to make it look like a tank is add to it a tank model. So here's where I get to show off in the art folder, in the models folder, in the tanks folder, all of these super cool tanks. Now, I guess I'll open it up to the panelists again and the chat. Yeah, there's a bunch of these I've never used before, so I'm open.
Okay. So when Neal was playing, I saw the shark tank. That's pretty exceptional.
And you wanted it.
It's a shark tank, but the Aya also pointed out, and it caught my eye as well. There is a UFO tank.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Was there another similar one up higher in the list? Or maybe that was just spacey. That I feel like could be a good enemy tank.
Which, by the way, until you said it, the Shark Tank visual pun, I didn't realize, but that's pretty brilliant.
I didn't realize until right now. I said it by accident.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go Shark Tank.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna just drag it from here onto the tank parent object, and look at that. We got a tank. Pretty good. Tank on the moon. Shark Tank on the moon.
I have a question.
Yes, tell me.
This might be a hard one. This is definitely getting ahead of things, but like, say I was not interested in any of these tanks, and say that there were like thousands of tank assets on the asset store, which I think there are. How would I go about figuring out, can I use this tank asset in my tanks game? Like, what are some things to consider there if I want to do something like that?
That is a great question. The beauty of kind of how we're organizing it here is that this is just a model. And so it could visually look like anything you want. And you kind of see that with all the different tank models. But some considerations would be, does it have an obvious place that you might want to shoot from? Because it could look weird if it doesn't have that. And also, you know, if you were looking at other projects, for example, it might be important that the wheels, you know, rotated. In this project, we made the wheels kind of look smooth and rubbery, so they don't actually rotate. But let's say you had a tank where you wanted to make like the tracks rotate or something like that. You would need to make sure that the model was set up in a way that the wheels could independently spin. In this case, they are separate models, so separate objects, so you can do that. But anyway, some things to consider. We also have, yeah, I think that's enough. Yeah.
Very cool.
Great. Now, I've got this object in scene view, but if you remember from the tanks project, the view in the game is more like this. It's kind of this upper diagonal looking view. And it's actually using something called isometric mode, which I'm going to show you in a sec. But I'm going to reorient this camera because if we look in game view, this is not a flattering view of our tank. This would not be very good for gameplay. So I'm going to show you a little trick, which is that here's my main camera. And if I was a newcomer to Unity, I might think, oh, yeah, here's what I can do. I can just move the camera up, move it this way, slightly rotate it like this. Oh, wait, that's not quite right. Let me move it up like this. Let me go like this. Oh, wait, that's not quite right. All that business. But there's a really cool feature that all the cool kids are using, which is that I can just position in scene view the view that I want my camera to have. And then I select my camera and I can say game object align with view, or Command Shift F if you're fancy. And that will automatically snap the camera to the view that I was just at. So there's my camera right where I was.
That's awesome.
Pointing down. Yeah. Very cool. But it still doesn't quite look like you might want for our tank game. Because in that tank game, it had that isometric view, which I can demonstrate better than I can explain, but it basically doesn't have any perspective. In other words, you can actually simulate this in scene view. If I click on this hidden word that says perspective, it changes it to isometric view. And the really crazy thing about that is that, you know, you look around and the objects, regardless of how far they are the same size. So I can like fly forward. I'm flying forward in scene view right now and nothing's happening because it doesn't matter how far I am. And that's just a very common style in a lot of games that you might have seen with this isometric type of view. So I'm going to get out of isometric view and return my perspective, which is helpful for navigating, you know, in a more intuitive way. But just a fun fact, if I were doing something like level layout, like let's say I was trying to move these objects around in my scene, I could grab this game object and move it around. But in isometric view, it's actually even easier because everything is totally flat. So it's easier to just kind of position objects like you're sliding them around a table. So there's a lot. Yeah. So you've got isometric view in scene view and you've got it in game view. And the way we can achieve it in game view is by selecting the main camera and projection type, change from perspective to orthographic. Orthographic and isometric kind of used interchangeably. And now I've got my camera kind of positioned nicely. You see, look, see if I move the camera back, it doesn't change how it looks.
I like that it shakes like it's fighting against you.
Exactly.
No, please don't.
Because the way that you change the view in with an orthographic projection is you just change the size kind of your field of view, or the frustum if you're getting fancy. So I can increase the size of it, and you see how that little square is getting bigger, and I can see more or less of the screen.
Cool.
So and something like that looks good-ish. So now I've got my camera all set up and ready to go. And that is, yeah, that's the first tutorial.
And we finished scene setup, and already kind of like watching this and seeing you on your slider and your different camera perspectives and everything that you shared there's lots of opportunity to kind of customize and go off book, so to speak, and kind of change it up so that if you were to submit this, you have something that's wholly your own and complete, which is very, very cool. I do want to bring in a question from the Twitch chat from the Aya says, and Neal, this is for you in the showcase. Is it permitted to submit an entry to the competition that contains other assets, ones that are not in the tutorial or package?
Yeah, I think that is fine as long as they aren't like some kind of copyright infringement.
Sure. They also followed up and said from like, let's say the asset store. So I think, yeah you are A-okay on that side.
Nice.
So Aaron, you did the scene setup. I want you to know that you trended above average as they expected about a 30-minute, and you breezed through this in 15, maybe 20. And you were talking through it, so I just want to commend you. You've done a great job so far.
Yeah, very well done. Question about the camera mode. I mean, I think you could imagine this as more of a third person, kind of like behind the tank kind of camera game, or even first person kind of thing. Is that doable? Anything to consider there, like considerations if I wanted to do that and submit that as a project? Would that be like bad for like the web version to do more of a first person maybe?
Yeah, I would say that would be good. That would be encouraged, something like that. The worry I would have is that if you imagine if you have two players, that's going to be a problem unless you're going to incorporate some split screen action. That's a good point. Which, things start to get complicated. So but you could, just say, put a big disclaimer, one player only, and so get a workaround that way, which I think is plenty good enough.
But split screen would be super fun too. If
I will say that
definitely more challenging.
If a submission comes through that's got split screen tanks, it's catching eyes. You know what I mean? It's getting the attention it deserves. I do want to bring in another question that's kind of just been a discussion, and I love seeing this when we're doing live streams where someone asks a question, someone else provides some input or some insight, and it's a little bit of a back and forth of problem solving. But and let's see, Aaron, if you have any insight on this. Is it advisable to always use a prefab instead of a model in a scene? Are there any overheads creating a prefab from the tank and using that prefab in the scene as opposed to just using a tank model? And I think as the conversation progressed, it was more about the overhead considerations. What are your thoughts?
I'm not aware of any overhead that is created when you use prefabs as opposed to models. This is a model right here, actually. And this we are going to make into a prefab later so that we can instantiate it. When we make it a prefab, we are making it one of our assets so that during the game, we can say, hey, create one of these assets in my scene. And draw on it from the project assets. But and correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I'm not a super duper technical expert on memory optimization, but I'm not sure. I don't believe there's any downside.
I don't believe we talked about it, but there was a stream we did a couple weeks ago that was purely about optimization. It was about the USP, the Unity Studio Productions team, and how they optimized a lot of the configurations for Dredge to convert that to a mobile game or port that to mobile, which was super cool. So if you guys want to go and check out some more optimization conversations that got very deep and detailed, go and check that out.
Yeah, probably not a bad
Put a
idea.
link to it too.
Yeah, probably not a bad idea for publishing a web game to like try and give it a little bit of optimization. Or
Yeah, a fun fact about prefabs that I only learned later in my Unity life. You can this is a prefab, this moon level, and if you just go down to the prefab and then you unpack it completely, you basically make it not a prefab anymore. It's all just objects that are in this scene and in this scene alone. Nobody else knows about them. So that is an option if you're scared of using prefabs.
I like how just civilian it is. It's like, do you want to unpack this or do you want to unpack it completely? And like, there's not a more technical setup for that. I think it's great. We also had, continuing that conversation, Jason Wyman on YouTube says, technically the models are prefabs too, no real downside and lots of benefits to the empty parent. So again, much more technical than my levels of expertise, but like I said, always excited to see the Unity community coming together to try to help each other out and share some insight and learnings.
Nice.
With that being said, Aaron, do you want to move on to chapter number 2 here, which would be to set up our tank's controls?
I would.
Cool.
So yes, our tank cannot move right now if I enter play mode. That's it. That's what I get. Which is a good view, but we want this tank to be able to move. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a rigid body component. So this tank can respond to physics forces, like when it gets exploded and it flies in the opposite direction, for example. So this is one of the most common things one finds oneself doing in Unity, adding a rigid body component. And if I were to test it now, it would just fall through the ground. So we could use gravity and it wouldn't fall. But actually, we're going to freeze. We're going to constrain its position, because if you think about this tank, the way the gameplay works, the tank never actually moves up or down. And it never rotates like this or like this. It only rotates along its y-axis. You can see here this y is the one pointing up, and if you rotate around the y-axis or about the y-axis, so we really only want it to move on the flat plane and rotate on that one axis. So what you can do is freeze its y position, so it can never go up and down, so you have more control over where it gets exploded to, and you can freeze its rotation on the x and z, and then if we were to press play, it's not going to sync anymore, or it wouldn't be able to rotate if it got exploded. So we've got our rigid body. That's good. And then we're going to add a tank movement script. And this script is provided for you by us as a completely functional script, because it's not a coding course, and teaching all this would be maybe 40 hours. So we do have other coding courses available. But instead here, we are just providing you with this tank movement script, and it's very thoroughly commented. So if anyone wants to go and edit it or check it out or try to understand it, you can just read through it, and there's a lot of human readable comments in there. But I'm going to just drag this tank movement script onto my tank. And I believe just like that, it should work. Yes, it does.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah. One thing, though, you'll see that I can drive through objects.
Oh, yep. That's
yeah. That maybe that could be a power up or something, but we probably don't want that to happen by default. So what I'm going to do is add a collider component, because by default, if you just have a model, it could be like a cloud or some other non-physical object, something decorative, some part of the UI. You wouldn't want it to collide with objects. And so if you want something to collide with something else, you need to add a collider. And I'm just going to add a simple box collider. There's no tank shaped collider, so a box collider will do for now. And by default, the collider probably won't be in the position you want it to be. So you can see it's that green box. And so you can just grab these handles and just kind of drag it around, and you always want to rotate and make sure that you're getting it from all angles, because one thing that looks good from one 3D angle often does not from another. So that looks pretty good. And now if I test it, maybe I want to change my camera view a little bit, but let me just focus on this, and then I can drive my tank. And it tries to go through, but it kind of gets stuck. And you can actually, if you really try, you can sort of push through it. And that's sort of a limitation of we try to use more simple code, and we're just kind of applying force to the rigid body. We're moving the position of the rigid body. But in order to handle this collision really sophisticated so that it acts exactly as you'd expect, it'd be a lot more complicated code that we did not want to include. So it basically works for the purposes of this game, which we're trying to keep nice and simple. You might have noticed that I'm getting all these errors, that there's a variable that has not been assigned. And that's because in this tank movement script is also where we control the idling sounds and the engine sounds. And there's no audio source. There's no kind of speaker attached to the tank that can emit the sounds. Now, unfortunately, I cannot share my audio on this stream. So I'm just going to add the audio source and apply it just to get rid of that error, and it should go away. Yeah, nice. But I'm not going to go through the step of adding the audio because I won't be able to share it on the stream, unfortunately.
Understood.
Yeah. But then the next thing we get to do to fulfill this tank in all its glory is to add those dust trails, which really add a lot to the kind of visuals of the tank.
Okay.
And yeah, we've got these dust trail prefabs, and we've got ones for each of the different levels. And that's because when the tank drives on the moon, you want moon dust to fly up. And when it drives in the desert, you want the sand to fly up. So they're just different colors of the same particle. And I'm going to attach that to the parent game object right there. And what's really cool about this particle is it kind of does look like a sandworm, because as you drag it around, look at it's being
it is
you're halfway to a sandworm right there.
Basically, if anyone wanted to take this and make a sandworm in their game, they're on their way.
What's really, I'd never seen this before. I took the tanks tutorial in my youth, and the way that this particle system works is, here's the particle system settings, and if you look at the emission, normal particles that I work with apply rate over time. So it emits particles over time, but this one does rate over distance. So as it's moving is when it emits particles, which is exactly what you want. So just with this one particle effect applied to the back of the tank, it just works out of the box, which is really awesome. So I'm just going to position this properly behind one tire, and I'm going to say this one on the left, and I'm going to duplicate it right here, this one on the right, and then I'm going to test it out, and look at that, pretty cool. It just works. Yeah. There's one
and
other
so many
thing
so many like things to play with in the particle system, right? To like
for sure
do whatever you want in terms of your emissions.
Yeah, you can imagine like a Tron style tanks game where it maybe emits a trail, like a light trail instead of a dust prefab.
Bring us back to the 80s again.
Yeah. That, speaking of getting other assets, adding things to this world or choosing a completely different world is another really great way to kind of make this project your own. In addition to choosing one of them, you could add something completely new.
I will say, Aaron, in watching you go through this, it's inspiring. And I don't know if you're just making it look easy, but we've talked about it on the channel a number of times where it's like myself with very little dev experience and very little Unity experience. Maybe it's something that I can start going through the learning essentials pathways and kind of learn. But when we were planning today's stream, I was like, no, I'm nervous. I don't want to. And I was, not feeling confident in my ability. And it might be just because you are flying through this because of your knowledge and experience, but this is inspiring in a way that I'm like, maybe I could. You're making me believe in myself. So maybe that's something we'll continue to explore in future.
Yeah, it's
Me making
a
you
nice
believe in
thing.
yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
The nice thing about this kind of tutorial, right? You can get right in there, like just build something really quick, but then still kind of dive into that script and like try to understand all the functions and how they work and like tweak stuff and see how tweaking stuff changes things. So you're maybe not, building this whole project from scratch yourselves and making all the models and making all the particle systems, but it's a good starting point to like have fun with those things and learn more about them with like a hands-on kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And C-Strong in the Twitch chat put it perfectly. You're going to fail at first. You need to fail to learn. You have to jump in if you want to learn. So, and again, I touched on it before we started with you, Aaron, that the Unity community has always been super supportive. So maybe that could help subside some of my fears and my anxieties, is that everyone is super willing to help and lend a hand. So maybe. I'm not saying yes, but maybe.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look forward to seeing your submission, Jackson.
Maybe not for tanks, but I guess maybe we could.
Okay, I wanted to show you one other thing about this tank movement script, which I find very interesting, which is this little toggle right here that says is direct control. Okay, it's hard to fully, let me zoom out a little bit on my projection. If I change is direct control, if I enable that, if I press the W key, by default, if I press forward or W, which this is using WASD controls, by default, pressing forward will make the tank move forward. But right now with is direct control enabled, if I press W, it starts going towards the top of the screen. If I press S down, it just turns around and starts going towards the top of the screen. If I press A or left, it starts just going towards the left side of the screen, and D, it just starts going towards the right side of the screen. And the reason we have that is because if you imagine you have a joystick on here, in fact, I can just add it. Let's imagine you have this joystick right here.
Oh, sweet.
And you press up on that joystick. Look, I can even, let's get really fancy.
Whoa.
Yeah. But you imagine you have this joystick here and you press up. Imagine how confusing it would be if you press up and the tank goes down to the right. Instead, the intuitive control is to press up and the tank goes up. You press left, the tank goes left. And so we have these two different control schemes that detect if you're on mobile or on desktop, and it will switch to either direct control for mobile on the joystick, or just regular old W goes forward in whatever local direction you're facing on the regular desktop. So that is pretty
Very nice. Is that
Yeah.
something that you all hand built for this, or is that a universal thing that's in Unity?
It is something that we hand built because that Guillaume, shout out to Guillaume,
Guillaume.
The programmer on our learning team, that he built for it. And yeah, because you can imagine there'd be situations where you would want it to go forward if you press forward. And so, yeah.
But if you're making another kind of web mobile game hybrid, whatever, like that you want to have on multiple things, you could steal this input system and pull it in.
For sure. And I should give a shout out here to the input actions and the new input system, which is designed to make all of that easier, where you can just say, hey, on mobile, this means forward, and on desktop, this means forward, and basically on Xbox, this means forward, or whatever you want to do in VR. So you can kind of control the actions based on what input device is being used. So
very cool.
That's very, very cool.
Aaron, I also wanted to bring in a comment from YouTube here. And Angelineer says some people prefer camera relative controls even on desktop, though it should be a toggle or an option. I imagine that's not something that we would get to in this tutorial, in the learning material here. How easy would that be to do? And also, if we had that in a submission, would that be an impressive extra points for the showcase?
It would be. Just because that does add a cool customization and maybe like accessibility feature for people to be able to customize that. it would require, you know, some additional UI work and, you know, diving into multiple scripts which are communicating with each other in order to make that happen. But if you know your way around the C# and some UI, then definitely that would get major kudos from me, because I know that it's not the easiest thing, but it's not the most impossible either. So,
and you're on the
that's a
panel,
great
so
idea.
you're the one we're
I'm
trying
on
to
the panel.
impress.
Yeah.
Good.
Indeed. Yep. So I'd say go for it.
All right. Is there anything else from the tank controls, or did we crushed it?
You know, the last step is just making this tank. I'm going to add a new, sometimes that happens. I say make a new folder and it just doesn't let me do it. I'm just going to drag this tank because I don't want to lose all my good progress. I'm going to drag it into the prefabs folder so that now I can just make as many tanks as I want by dragging them into the scene. So I've made my tank a prefab and I am ready to proceed to camera and lighting.
So we did it. We've made it through the first 2 chapters. No major hiccups. Like I said, you make me feel like I can do this, and following along in the tutorial,
excellent.
like, if
you
guys
want
to go
and
check out, thanks. Well, I do what I can. We are
that's
continuing.
An instructional designer's, you know, that's my love language as an instructional designer. So
you make me feel like I can do anything, Aaron. All right, sweet. That's a beautiful moment. Okay, so after tank controls, what's the next chapter in the Learning Essentials pathway here?
Yeah, well, let me just say, the Learning Essentials pathway is an amazing pathway for learning all the basics of Unity, but you don't actually learn this in the. Oh,
I apologize. I've been misspeaking. No. There are multiple. There's lots of learn materials that everyone should go and check out. I'll put that link in the chat as well. Apologies.
Cool. Yeah, this is just in the tanks course. Yeah. So you might have noticed one pretty big problem, which is this.
Aaron, Neal? You drove off camera.
Exactly. We can't have that. We got to have our camera following the tanks wherever they may go. But in order to demonstrate the real magic of the camera and the way that it is scripted to follow the different tanks, it's much better to have multiple tanks in the scene so that you can see how it kind of calculates where to position itself based on multiple tanks. So I'm going to duplicate this tank. I'm going to name this one Tank 1. You know what? I'll get more specific. Tank Shark.
Oh,
I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to make Tank... I don't know. we got to choose a new model for this one.
Call it Bruce.
So, nice. Very good reference.
So I'm going to need... there was a UFO request earlier. Is that what we want to go with?
I like the UFO, but Neal, I leaned heavily on Shark Tank. Neal, do you have any strong feelings?
Is there another pun based on a TV series?
Oh man, go through them again. Let's see. Trying to get the one that's really the least appropriate.
Okay.
I mean,
maybe that one. Maybe the like fancy car is like. I think that car would be like flying off of the moon with the reduced gravity. So
smart.
So I'm gonna
do the wrong thing. Wrong answer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna move this tank over here to be the nemesis of my original tank, and I'm gonna rotate it around. And here's where I'm going to delete this shark model, and I'm gonna get the spike model and just drag it in there instead. And just like that, I've got now 2 tanks facing off, and I'm going to name this one, what was it called? Spike. Tank Spike. And all I need to do in order to, let me move this guy a little further away, give me some space. What I need to do in order to change the controls, because the original tanks and this version of tanks, you can play local multiplayer. So on the same keyboard, which wouldn't work on mobile unless, you know, you got really tiny hands.
See, I would play that. I would play that just like you and a friend on opposite sides of the same phone, not even like an iPad.
Yeah. On the iPod Shuffle.
Oh man, perfect.
So here's Tank Spike, and you can see in the tank movement script, you got player number, And if I just change this 1 to a 2, it will switch over to a new control scheme. You know, in this tank movement script,
cool.
it specifies if the player number equals 2, then use the arrow keys instead of WASD. And that's all done through the input actions, which I was talking about earlier. So now I've got 2 hands on my keyboard, just doing this by myself. I'm moving this tank, and now I'm moving this tank.
You're cha-cha.
I got the arrows. What's that?
I said, and you're cha-chaing.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, you can still see the problem, which is this. You know, they can drive off into the sunset without anyone seeing it happen. So that's where we're going to create our camera rig. It's basically a game object that the camera is going to sit underneath. You kind of think of it like a, you see those steady cams, you know, on sets. It's like the thing that controls the camera. So I'm going to make a new empty object here. Use my Command Shift N shortcut to make a new empty object. And I'm going to name it Camera Rig. And I'm going to make this camera a child object, kind of like, you know, an operator holds the rig that holds the camera. And this is going to be the thing that, oh, you know what? I forgot to, silly me. I got to zero this out. So now I'm going to make it a child object. Got my nice camera rig. And you can see that my camera rig is right over here. And if I move my camera rig, it also moves the camera. And the way that this script is going to work is it's going to calculate the difference, the position, the average position of these 2 objects. And it's going to calculate kind of a midpoint and position itself there. And then based on the distance that these are apart, it's going to do that thing I was showing you earlier. It's going to increase and decrease the size as is necessary to capture them both on the screen. So you can read all that code yourself if you like.
Does this involve vector math?
It sure does, just a little bit. Yes, I still remember Math 133. I remember the building. I struggled with that. So that was so confusing in college. Anyway,
well, thankfully you've done the vector math for us.
Yes, exactly. So here's the camera rig, and I'm going to add a script that once again we have created for you called camera control, and it is very nicely commented for you to check out. Yeah, pretty confusing stuff going on there, but feel free to check that out if you are so inclined. And you see you've got some properties that you can adjust. The screen edge, the damp time, meaning kind of how slowly it responds to the changes and kind of the lag kind of. And then you've got the screen edge buffer, how much space you've got between the tanks and the edge of the screen, and the minimum size. Like, what is the minimum? Here's the size, right? So right now it's set to 6.5. You probably wouldn't want to go, you know, even if you have 2 tanks, if they're right here, that's a little too tight, a little too close for comfort. You still want to be able to see a little bit of the environment around it. So 6.5 here would be the minimum, which seems about right. The problem is I need to tell it what the targets are so that it knows what to calculate that average position based on. So I'm going to add a couple of slots for my targets and just drag in my shark tank and my spike tank into those 2 slots. And then you can see it already went. Let's see if I increase that damp time. I'm sort of curious what will happen. Let me increase that. Let's see. Oh, look at that slow, dramatic zoom in.
Drama.
Yeah. So anyway, now if I move, whoa, and look, we can even watch our camera in action here. So we can get like a nice bottom view of it here and watch it go as my. See, oh, look, it's getting bigger and it's moving. And here that size is getting smaller. And hit the minimum size.
Just
if I were to change. Yep, if I were to change that minimum size down to, 1, now we've got, it's getting really tight. But anyway, things you can play with.
That's great.
If I reduce the screen edge buffer here, it's getting a little tight. I could increase that to 6 or whatever and get a little bit more breathing room. But that's how that all works.
Aaron, I wanted to ask you a question.
Mm,
On
hit
the
me.
YouTube side of things, people are lamenting
Mm.
that Cinemachine does not get enough love and saying that we could have done this all in Cinemachine. I know that with this learn specific tutorial, obviously you're going through a very specific line of instructions, doing it a very specific way. What I think is fantastic is always seeing there's many different ways to find a solution to the same problem. This is one way. What would be your recommendation if people wanted to hop into Cinemachine and do this? Would it be easier, faster? Would it be a new tool to learn? What are your thoughts?
Yes, it would be a new tool to learn. But yes, 100%. We could have done all of this with Cinemachine. I'm trying to. I know the original did not use Cinemachine because in 2015, Cinemachine was still in the womb, and so it had not been born.
Yeah.
And so a part of it might be just legacy that it was working as was out of the box, and we just kind of kept it that way because that was the original tutorial. But we could have definitely updated this to use Cinemachine.
So again, I think that there's some context there that's very important. It's like, yes, there's many different ways to skin a cat, which is the worst analogy. We need to change that. I feel bad for you using it. But you can accomplish this many different ways. Use the tool that works best for you is something we say on these streams a lot. And part of the reasoning that in this specific tutorial might be the remastered sense of it, that remastering the original. It's like when you remaster a game, do you keep those main core components there or do you switch them out? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm thinking about Oblivion right now and their remaster, and they kept some of the jank because they wanted you to feel like you were playing the same game.
And some more inside baseball here. We were actually on a pretty tight timeline to get this out the door that we had set for ourselves just to keep things scope nice and tight. And so that was one of the things that just didn't need to get updated, so kept it as is. Same thing with the that collision I was talking with you about. We could have probably updated that where you can kind of go through the spaceship, but it would have taken a lot of time and been a little bit more complicated. But it's a great comment.
No, yeah, it's good, and it spawned another in-depth conversation. People trying to figure out, what would be the best way, what could the approach be on Cinemachine itself. So I think it's fantastic. Also, Aya calling out the lore hits. I think that's really cool. I think everyone can go and check out this tutorial and do it now. But I love that when we do live streams, it's not just showing you how to do things, but it's telling you the bigger picture, the why behind it. How did you get to this place in the first place? So I think that's super cool. We have, how long do you think it would take to take on the next phase here, Aaron?
A little too long, but there's one more step in this
Oh, we're
tutorial.
Not done. I jumped in. I jumped in before I should jump in.
Yeah. There's one little problem that we wanted to solve here, which I could demonstrate by doing this, by just driving off in opposite directions. Oh, I think I made my, okay, there we go. You can see it. So you can see the outer edge of the screen right here. And that doesn't look too good. That's the sort of default Unity gloom bottom of skybox color. And so one thing you can do with your main camera is you can change the background type. Right now it's using the skybox to a solid color. And then, depending on your theme, I can just use this color picker and I can just choose a color from the scene. Oh, cool. Maybe, oh, that looks kind of nice actually. But maybe I'll just choose a gray. So it's just something you don't really think about. Something like that. It only happens when you're zoomed way out or when you're at the edge, but another thing to consider for sure. Mm-hmm. And then that's it. We've got our camera all set up and ready to go. We would be ready to move on to the firing mechanism, which is pretty cool, but cool. Also time consuming.
Yeah, no, this is great. I do want to call out that Dustin in the YouTube chat says that you should save your progress. How often do you save?
I save quite regularly. It's kind of like checking my rear view mirrors, like but I was a little too stressed on this stream to be saving as regularly as I should. So thank you. I have saved now. The dreaded asterisk that shows up there when you have not saved is gone.
As much as I don't have the Unity dev experience, I do a lot of video editing, and it is the exact same thing where it's like just Control S whenever you take a break between anything. If you have a moment to think, save, because if things break and you lose progress, nothing deters me more from returning to a project than having to repeat hours of work. So just get in there. Yeah. Scott Robertson calling out who else is in the member of the Spam Control S club. Save and save often. Absolutely. So this is really cool. This was awesome. This was so fun. Aaron, thank you for showing this off. Neal, thank you for setting up the showcase and kind of talking through it here. We'll give people that link to the showcase one more time. Please go and check out the details, submit, and we will circle back in a little while here. I know that your team's going to work really hard to pick the winners. You guys could win a Unity backpack. Check out all the additional details because I'm sure there's some restrictions that apply. But show off that backpack. That is super cool.
Yeah, Neal, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but I mean, can you give us a little tour? Like, what kind of inner pockets are we talking about?
Yeah. So we got.
We're gonna do a little tour here of this backpack.
Well, it's
unboxing.
It's like very clean on the outside. There's like these, cup holders that have nice elasticity to them, but there's like no front pocket. But when you open it up,
don't tell me there's pockets in there.
Oh my gosh.
Pockets?
Where there would have been that front pocket kind of like messing up the aesthetics. It's like all on the inside. Sorry, it's a little dark, but you got some zippers, you got some like thingies to put stuff in. You also have the laptop kind of dealy. And as I understand, it's made of like recycled plastic, so you're doing something good for the environment there.
Do we know, is it waterproof?
That I'm not sure. Not sure. I forget.
I was going to suggest that you just commit to saying it is, but maybe we don't. Maybe we don't tell people that in case, which is super cool. So again, you guys have that opportunity, Unity community, to win one of 5 backpacks. Check out all the details on the showcase link that we keep putting in there, and go learn tanks. If you learned tanks, go back to your roots. Aaron, did you feel a deep sense of nostalgia going through it again today?
It was I think 2017 was the year that I first experienced tanks, and it took me right back there.
Yeah, I like it. It was just like
everyone remembers where they were the first day.
So again, we pointed out
good year.
if you have a tanks project that you already finished years ago, in theory, you could dig it up and submit it. But we'd also love to see a lot of variety, a lot of personalization, a lot of trying new things with these submissions. I know that when we did the Rollerball showcase, the winner of like best overall went above and beyond and made like a 4-person arena battler using the Rollerball tutorial. It was so cool. So please go and check out all of those details and follow up and engage in that conversation on the discussions page as well. We're going to have Neal, you're going to be monitoring that, I believe. We also have
we've got a whole team monitoring. Yeah. They're like volunteers from across the company that are like waiting to take your questions and help you do that customized project.
Yeah, people are passionate about tanks is my biggest takeaway from today's stream. That people are willing to shell out their time.
Oh,
that was a tank pun. That was a tank pun. I don't know if you guys got that one.
I got it.
I feel good about that. But of course, everybody, we're going to wind down today's stream. Aaron and Neal, I want to thank you both so very much for hanging out. This was super fun. I would love to continue to do some stuff like this. And I know that with the new schedule, we're intending to bring the Learn team in at least once a month for some technical type content, even if it's just following along with this these types of tutorials and Learn materials. I think that today was a blast, super nostalgia for some people, super insightful for others. So I just want to say how grateful I am for your time. Thanks, gang.
Thank you, Jackson.
Yeah, thanks.
It was a blast.
Yeah, I know that we have plans to bring you guys back next month again. If we have a bunch of submissions, we're going to be showing those off. And if not, we'll do something else, which I think is going to be cool too. All right, sweet. You guys disappear, but don't go anywhere, if that makes sense. Sweet. And Unity community, it's just you and me. Once more, I want to thank you all for coming here and hanging out today. We, of course, are live every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 12 p.m. on the East Coast and 5 p.m. GMT. But In the months of May, June, and July, we are amping up our schedules. We are aiming to be live Tuesdays and Thursdays. Keep an eye on our Unity Twitch and YouTube spaces for all of the schedule and details and more. We also have our next stream planned for next Tuesday. It's going to be a very, very cool one. We are bringing in Emily Pitcher, the creator of Lily's World, a Forbes 30 under 30, a Game Awards future class, to come in and talk about how to turn a game that you want to make into a game people actually want to play. They will be discussing themes like learning from game dev failure, how to take those failures and turn them into successes. It's going to be a very, very fun time. Please come and check that out. Emily has a lot of knowledge to share in the lead up to these streams. Emily has wowed me repeatedly with the types of topics that she wants to discuss. So come join us live, ask as many questions as you would like, and learn a lot about game dev. And I think that will be fun for our Indie Tuesdays to kick off. Of course, we've got Thursday streams that week as well. Tuesday and Thursdays, we're going to keep letting you know when you can come back and see us. So Unity community, I just hope that you have the best rest of your day. Until I see you all again, my name is Jackson. Have a good one.